Hey Jews, I want to talk today about being Jewish and especially about realizing your spiritual potential as a Jew and how important it is and how important you are in the scheme of things, in reality, in our reality, okay? And mostly I want to say to people who are not practicing Jews, who are not Torah observant Jews, who are not interested in the religion, please bear with me. Please maybe just listen. All I'm saying is that you, as a Jew, really do need to go back and learn your history. Learn your history from the Jewish perspective. Learn Torah. It's your inheritance. It's your inheritance. And it doesn't just belong to practicing Orthodox Jews. It belongs to you. It belongs to every Jew. Okay? And all it would take would just be for you to start learning and start understanding. Okay? In order to understand reality a little bit better and unlock your own spiritual potential. Everybody has a soul. Okay? Every Jew has a soul. Again, this channel is called From Me to Jew, and I'm literally just talking about Jews. Okay? So every Jew has a soul, a holy soul. Okay? But not a lot of people, especially in today's day and age, the year is 5,784. Out of a possible 6,000, we are at the end of time. A little bit more on that maybe later, but a lot of my other videos talk about this. Okay, also talk about our lineage, also talk about the other people that are in the world, the 70 nations. And we are not all the same. We don't come from the same root, as it were, okay? We don't have the same information. Our information, the information for the Jews, is in the Torah, okay? And it's essential that we all learn that. We all understand that, just even a little bit, okay? So we all have a soul. And in fact, we know that the spiritual dimension of reality is fueling our physical reality. And in fact, when this physical reality ends, at the actual end of time, okay, this reality will cease to exist. But the only thing that will be taken over to a new reality will be the spiritual aspect, okay? And that's your soul, is enduring and eternal. And it's going to carry on. So the information that you learn and you obtain in this reality of the spiritual dimension, which is in the Torah, will carry over into Olam Haba, the eternal world of truth. Again, this is all in a little other videos. But what I wanted to talk about was your spiritual potential and how important you are, Jew, in the scheme of things and in reality. You are very important. Now, I'm going to contrast that by saying that in your secular life, okay, how important are you as an individual, really? What does it mean? I mean, what does even time mean in your secular reality? What makes this year different from any other year? What makes this night different from all the other nights? Nothing. When was the beginning of time? Who knows? When was the end of time? Who knows? Or when is it going to be the end of time? Who knows? In your secular information that you have, time as a dimension is not understood. It's not really related to, okay? And in fact, the calendar that goes by the sun, in which year it is the year 2024, there's been at least 2 calendars here that have discrepancies between them. So what's the actual date, actually? There's just so much about secular history that doesn't make any sense, and especially for the Jews. Because throughout time, the reason that this nation has even survived, okay, is because of the spiritual information that was given to us in the Torah. And that is because the spiritual dimension of our reality is fueling the physical reality. Okay, so we're told, actually, that when we are a fetus, when we're in our mother's womb, we are already taught the Torah 100 times. Okay, 100 times. So you already know the Torah. Your soul already knows the Torah. You have some sort of awareness of the spiritual information. But what our work is in this world and in this life, in your physical body, in your lifetime, is to go back and at least learn it one more time. Okay? At least work for that. At least understand what it means to be a Jew in this reality. Why did the nations rise up to annihilate us in every generation? Why is there anti-Semitism? I mean, if you look at it, it doesn't make any sense if you don't have this information. If you don't look at reality from this perspective. Okay? So it's very important to make some sort of effort to start to understand the spiritual dimension of our reality and to get acquainted with your soul. Okay? Because this way you can also measure how you're doing. How are you doing? Are you successful in life? How are you going to know? What does that even mean in secular reality? How much money you make? Does that even matter when you die? I mean, all the information that you may obtain in your life about the physical world, what good is that going to do you in the spiritual world? But when you focus more on your spiritual dimension, on your spiritual reality, on your soul, there are markers that can help you assess how you're doing. Are you being successful or not? So, meaning you could grow in your understanding of the spiritual dimension. You could understand Torah better and practice it better. And then each year you have a marker. Did I do Pesach better this year? What does that even mean? You know, am I understanding what the ritualistic aspects of this religion? And again, I don't think it's helpful to call Judaism a religion, because once you start to understand reality and the spiritual element of reality and how important it is that there is this lineage here, the Jews in every generation, to continue this holy information, then you understand how important you are, like I said, you as an individual Jew and us as the nation of Israel all together, living in a certain way in this reality that will be beneficial to us in this reality and in the next reality, which will be forever, eternity. Okay, so this information though, it's encoded, and it is necessary to become more emotionally and spiritually available and receptive to understanding it. So our sages understood, okay, that that there was a concern about forgetting the Torah, okay, and because there's esoteric information and theological principles in this information, they decided to encode it. Okay, because it says here, I'm just reading from the introduction to the Talmud, okay, it's not appropriate that the esoteric parts of this information be accessible to those who are unworthy on account of both the loftiness and profundity of the concepts. Because of their loftiness, it is not befitting God's honor that his secrets be transmitted to those who have flawed character, even if he possesses the most brilliant mind. And because of the profundity, for these concepts are indeed very profound, only those who have keen minds and are well trained in the ways of analysis will succeed in understanding them. And that is why Jews have always dedicated a good portion of their lives to learning the Torah. Because it's very, very, very complicated information. But it's very important information, and we see over the history of the history of the nation of Israel over time, okay, we have preferred to keep the spiritual aspect of our lineage alive, even at the expense of the physical. So, for example, there's a story when the second temple was being destroyed, okay, and we were sent out into exile. Our sages, our Torah leaders, our spiritual leaders of that generation, when they could ask the Romans anything for anything at that point, they didn't say spare the temple. They said spare the sages, spare these Torah observant, the rabbis and the sages, and let us set up camp outside of Jerusalem at Yavne, and to ensure that the Torah, that the spiritual information never died, okay? And so Jerusalem was was attacked and was destroyed, and the temple was destroyed, and we were sent into exile. But we were sent into exile with this information, which is the reason that we have survived over time. So I do hear a lot of secular, non-Torah, Torah ignorant Jews say like, well, the nation of Israel survived over time, but we have survived because the spiritual dimension of reality is fueling this physical dimension. The spiritual is the more important thing. And so that's why we have always learned Torah. No matter what happened over time, we have not lost this and not lost this tradition. However, over time, they knew that we would forget more Hebrew, which is the key to this spiritual information, because the Torah is written in Hebrew and it's encoded in Hebrew, because the Hebrew is a holy language. Okay, so they knew that we would be forgetting our Hebrew. That's why people like Rav Yaakov Kuli decided to make this anthology called Ma'am Loaz. Okay, where it basically compiles all the information of the Torah that you need to know as a Jew. Okay, so it's in any language that you may speak. Even in Hebrew, if you just get Ma'am Loaz, the anthology, all of the volumes, you will understand the Torah, and then you will understand how it's relevant to us in our day and how it is explaining reality. Who are these other people in the world that want to annihilate us in every generation? What is their modus operandus? How do they work? Well, they usually form alliances, and they usually try to be a one world order. The new world order is not new. It's just the one world order that we can understand, even at the beginning, was the Tower of Babel. And all throughout time, they come together, they make alliances within themselves, and they try to destroy the nation of Israel. Now, God also tells us that when we do not keep this Torah, when we do not keep this information, then there's no real purpose for us to be in this reality. Because everything physical has a spiritual root, including the nations. Every nation has a spiritual representation in Shamayim, okay? In the spiritual reality that's going on at the same time that we are not maybe emotionally or spiritually receptive to, including the nation of Israel. We, in essence, are the representatives of the truth, of the holy truth of God in our reality, okay? And that's why we have survived, because without God, there is no reality. There's no reality. But so it does depend on us what happens to us. It literally just depends on us. And so as the people of Israel, as the nation of Israel, as the Jews have been in a very long exile and have forgotten a lot of their Torah, because, like I said, when it was written down, it needed to be encoded. Not just the Torah that we received at Har Sinai, but there's an oral Torah. Okay, and a lot of Jews have forgotten about that. But like I said, we learned it basically as our soul knows the Torah, and it's just a matter of effort for us in our lifetimes to go back and learn it. And that is your potential that is laying dormant if you're not at least trying a little bit to understand what does it mean to be a Jew. Why has the nation of Israel been successful at surviving the multiple attempts at annihilating it over time? How? Okay, what is the significance of this land? Why didn't we just go to Uganda, set up a nice little country over there? What is the kingdom of David, and what is the Mashiach, and what does it mean? What would it mean for the nation of Israel to have the third temple back? What is the state of Israel doing here, and why are our collective memories only basically going back as far as the Holocaust? I don't know about you, but me growing up, I always had it in the back of my mind, somewhere in my consciousness, in my unconscious, my subconscious, whatever, about the Holocaust and how scary that was. And I could imagine it, and I could think about hiding like Anne Frank. And I mean, we went to Amsterdam, I saw that. I mean, it's very real. It could happen again. oh, well, thank God there's the state of Israel. Now we have the IDF. Now that's not going to happen because we have the state of Israel. And that is a lie. That's a lie. And I explain this in many other classes, okay? Because like I said, after the second temple was right before it was completely destroyed, what was saved was this information. The spiritual aspect of the nation was saved at expense of the second temple and at expense of Jerusalem. Okay, we gave that up in order to continue this. And this is what has helped us survive over time, because we have to be, there has to be a nation of Israel in reality. Okay, and the spiritual information that we're given and that we're learning explains why and how. Okay, but you need to go and learn that also in order to understand it. So we said that there's an emotional and a spiritual receptivity to this information. It's encoded so that even if you have a brilliant mind, you may not understand the spiritual information until you become more holy, until you practice it. And you have to be more pure in order to have that information make sense to you. So again, I'm going back here to the Mesilat Yesharim with Rav Avigdor Miller's commentary, where he also tells us that we're not pious by nature. We're not born good, by the way. There, I just answered the age-old question in secular reality. Are we born good or are we socialized to be good? Well, we're not pious by nature, he says here. It does not say in Mesilat Yesharim that we're not good, but we're not perfect. Any perfection you acquire is the result of hard work. Most human beings think that they are lucky to have been born with a good character, although they know they didn't work on their character. They don't labor to train themselves, but they're convinced that they're good anyhow. What is the fundamental cause for such an error? People think that God created perfect people. This attitude is a very great barrier. Not only is it a barrier to learning the fear of Hashem, of God, and to serving God in our reality, but it's a great barrier merely to living decently. Okay, so God, it's a big cop-out to say also, well, if God didn't want me to have a menstrual cycle, then he would have made me that way. So why would I have to separate from my husband and all the things of family purity that are in there in the Torah? Or if God wanted us to be circumcised, he would have made us circumcised. So, we don't need to go and mutilate our male children by circumcising them. That doesn't make any sense when you actually know a little bit more about the spiritual dimension. And all I'm saying is that we need, as Jews, to realize our spiritual potential just a little bit more. I mean, you are important, because what is happening is that it's like like I said, the spiritual dimension is fueling the physical dimension. But what we do in our physical dimension is also impacting the spiritual dimension. And it all is kind of connected, okay? Everything is connected. What we do here in the physical reality influences the spiritual reality. And nothing happens in physical reality without the spiritual reality first fueling it. And so you are very important. Your life you're not here for no reason. You're not here and I have another video called Jew Have a Purpose, believe it or not. Please go and watch that video. We all have a purpose. Everyone has a purpose in this reality. And we have ways to measure, like I said, our success or failure about the purpose of our life. If we know the purpose of our life, okay, and we know that the spiritual information is the main information. The main purpose is the spiritual purpose. Okay, then we have also a way to measure our success or failure in that way over our lifespan. How effective are we? I have another series called The Game of Life, and I think it's 4 parts at this point, and I invite you to please go and look at that. Okay, you are Jew are important. Jew are important to the nation of Israel. Jew are important to this reality. Jew are a major factor in understanding and understanding what anti-Semitism is and how far this goes. Okay, because it does depend on your spiritual work. Like I said, whatever you do here is going to influence the spiritual reality. We are at the end of time. It could not be more important for you to wake up. All of these things are happening for you to wake up to your Jewish identity, for you to understand that your spiritual potential has been left maybe untapped or dormant, or completely misdirected to other forms of spiritual information that do not come from your lineage and do not come from the Torah. And whatever you find attractive in Eastern philosophies or Eastern spiritualities, let me just say, the source is really the Torah. The source is God. It's just distorted here in other information. It's distorted because anybody can go and learn that, no matter how unpure you are, or how unholy you are. Only the real information that is given by God in the Torah, given and handed down from our lineage, from father to son in an unbroken chain, requires that you have a higher spiritual elevation in order to learn it, understand it, and practice it. In order for you to understand what's happening in our reality, and in order for you to reach your spiritual potential in this reality, in your lifetime, which is the main point. Are you successful in life? Yes or no? What does that mean? How can you measure it? There are ways to measure that. Every year you can grow in the times that are given and laid out for us as the nation of Israel. The holidays, all the Shabbat, everything, every Shabbat that you do you learn a little bit more? Do you do a little bit more? It's very important. You are important, and it is important, especially in these end times, to go back and learn your history and to go back and learn Torah.